Hello again, I'm Yalda Hakim. You're watching Impact from the BBC. Our main news today. Meeting between Presidents Obama and Duterte is cancelled after the Philippines' new leader uses obscene language to insult his US counterpart. And instead of meeting Mr. Duterte, President Obama will hold talks with the South Korean president. One focus of the meeting will be the threat from North Korea. Now, the theory that women get paid less than men because they're not sufficiently pushy in the workplace is not true. That's according to a report by Cass Business School and the Universities of Warwick and Wisconsin. The study compared the details of 4,600 workers across over 800 employers in Australia. That country is thought to be the only place to systematically record whether employees had asked for a pay rise. And they found that when like-for-like male and female workers were compared, men were 25% more likely to get a pay rise when they asked. Well, with me is one of the report co-authors, Dr. Amanda Goodall. Dr. Goodall, thanks very much for joining us here on the programme.
Very welcome.
You're one of the co-authors. Were you surprised by the findings of this report?
Yes, we were, actually. We checked the statistics very, very carefully. We thought we were looking at the regression equations upside down because we really did not expect it. So we really tested it very, very carefully.
This sort of goes against everything that we've assumed up until now.
It does. It's partially because we managed to use data that we controlled for a lot of factors. So we controlled for their age, we controlled for whether they had children, whether they are married, and the kind of work that they do. And so we had a like-for-like comparison, as you said, and that meant that in a way it's the first time we've been able to do this proper test. So it was surprising. And another myth was blown as well, and that is that women don't ask because they're worried about upsetting their boss or their manager, and that was also not true. But it was true that women were asking but not getting to the extent of men, which we know. But there is a positive upside.
Tell me about the positive upside.
The upside is that younger women are both as likely as men to ask for a pay rise, but they're also as likely as men to get a pay rise.
So is that sort of a cultural shift or change that you've seen?
We don't know exactly why, because we don't do those kind of analysis. But I think the big question is this a cohort effect? And by that I mean, is it a generational shift? Are younger women representative of a new generation and representing a new attitude in the workplace whereby women and men are being treated equally? We will know that as women continue to rise up through their jobs and become managers, if they're still getting the same pay rise as men when they're in senior positions, and then we'll know whether it's a generational or a cohort effect.
So how does one ask for a pay rise?
Well, there's yes, this isn't in the study, but certainly from my other research, the tips that I would give women, honestly, are one thing we do know is 70% of the 4,500 people in that survey have asked for a pay rise at some point in time. That's extraordinary. So most people think that they A, deserve a pay rise, or B, deserve to be promoted. Now, that can't come to everyone. So I guess what I would suggest is make sure you go at the right time, don't go too soon. You can never be sure about this, but try and make sure that you're as ready as possible. I would also encourage particularly women, but obviously also men, so when you go to the negotiating table, know what you're asking for. A lot of times people will go along and they'll say, I want a pay rise, and then a manager may turn around and say, how much do you want? And they won't know. Be prepared, know how much you want. Another tip I would give is that women have to, and men, when they go into negotiations, I think it's very important that both parties walk away feeling they've won something. So if you go in there and slam your fist on the table and say, give me my money or I'm out of here, that's not going to create a good environment. If you try and push the money up so high that the other party feels that they're not comfortable, that also isn't good. So I think it's good that both parties walk away feeling they've gained something from it. And finally, which is a harder message, and this is very much for women, and this is, I've shown this in research with Agnes Baker that we're just writing up now, women are more likely to stay in jobs where their job satisfaction has declined and they're no longer enjoying it as much as men. Men will quit much sooner than women. So women have got to, once they've gone through all the negotiating, if they haven't gotten anywhere, they've got to put their money where their mouth is, and they've got to actually quit their job and go and find another one.
Some interesting tips there for how to get a pay rise, and some background there on the study. Thank you so much, Dr. Goodall, for joining us here on the programme.
You're very welcome.
Okay, let's get all the latest sports news.